A person losing their wig is never not funny. What kind of idiotic operation are we running here in the WNBA?
What a league. Marry your teammate, date an opponent, get your wig flying off. WNBA is just a show. And I'm afraid our girl Caitlin Clark is jumping right in. Only the show that is the WNBA. And I'm here for all the stupidity. I got a feeling there's more stupidity to come.
Wigs are being ripped off and fans are laughing and therefore being ejected from the arena. Phoenix's Kahleah Copper ran off the court and into the locker room when her wig was grabbed off of her head by the Washington Mystics' Jade Melbourne as she was trying to beat a screen. There you can see a Kahleah Copper, whatever I called her before. She's the lady who had her wig snatched off, Dan. And then they ejected a fan for making fun of her for losing her wig. Dan, I would just like to say, before I get your take on this, a person losing their wig is never not funny. In the history of humanity, every time someone, male, female, even back in the days when George Washington and those cats were wearing the powdered wigs, I guarantee you if they lost it unintentionally, somebody was laughing. And so I don't know what the fans said. I mean, if we find out later on that there was some absolute horrible thing said, I'm willing to retract this. But what kind of idiotic operation are we running here in the WNBA when we're ejecting fans? And what kind of dog ears? You know, like dogs can hear, a car door shut from 26 miles away. The only hearing that possibly comes close to dog hearing is the hearing of WNBA players as they sit on the bench, because those bitches can hear everything, Dan.
Ricky, it's astounding. What a league. Marry your teammate, date an opponent, get your wig flying off, and get mad when somebody laughs at it, Ricky. What are we doing around here? The WNBA, I got to tell you, I equate it to this. This can go both ways, boy or girl, but you see a hot woman, and the more you get to know that hot woman, the less hot she becomes. Like, you're like, okay, well, no, I'm not dating her. Well, the WNBA is like, all right, you got this operation, and the more we know about you, the less we think of you. A lot of people, the more you know them, the better you think of them, right? You think they're smarter, whatever. WNBA is just a shit show. It's a complete and utter shit show, and I'm afraid our girl Caitlin Clark is jumping right in. I am. I mean, honest to God, a wig flies off, and the girl did not even come back into the game. She ran off and didn't come back. Like, what, Ricky?
Humiliated.
I'm out with a hamstring. Well, yeah, but I'm out with a hamstring. I'm out with a groin. Oh, man, I'm out with stitches in my eye. I'm out because my wig fell off. Only the shit show that is the WNBA. And I got to tell you, I'm here for all of it. I am here for all the stupidity, all the idiocy. Pay them what you owe them. Hell yeah. The level of stupid is beautiful, and this is icing on the cake. But I got a feeling, Ricky, I do. I got a feeling there's more stupidity to come. I do. I got a feeling something else incredibly idiotic is going to happen.
I'm going to follow it with something that some people might say is at least a little bit stupid. Angel Reese, she's drawing the hard line. She's just learned what revenue sharing is probably about 8 seconds ago, and now she's an expert on it, and she's convinced that the WNBA players are not getting their fair share. Dan, look, obviously, as I've said before, we've talked about it, somebody believes that this league is going to be profitable. Now, whether that happens or not, we'll find out. But there are people who are going all in. They're investing $250 million in these expansion franchises. Look, everybody who's ever engaged in collective bargaining wants the best deal that they can get. So I don't begrudge the players that. But the way that they're going about it a little bit kind of feeds into what you were saying, in my opinion. It's the more that you hear from the players in this league, the less you like what you're hearing. and hearing, how they feel like they're so entitled to all of this money when the league lost $40 million last year, I don't know, it seems there's a disconnect there to me.
Honest to God, Rick, you're right, though, Ricky. Somebody, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people think that this is going to be profitable. People are investing major dollars. All right. Hey, we'll see. I don't know. I am not the one that would invest in it. I'm not the one that has to invest in it. But it is an absolute shit show. It really is. And, you had a chance, you really did, in the court of public opinion to do something. But you're bringing out idiotic T-shirts. Kelsey Plum then criticizes the Golden Goose, acting like women act in sports. My wife famously has said women in sports absolutely do not want other women in sports to succeed. And it's glorious to watch. But thank God football's coming, and we don't have to watch this shit show or even talk about this shit show anymore.
All right, Dan, one more for you here. I know you got things to do. Alex Cora, the manager of the Boston Red Sox, said that ESPN, when he worked there, they made up trade rumors. Some people did. And you can take a look at this here. He says, ESPN, the direct quote from Alex Cora is ESPN made shit up about trade rumors during his time there at the Worldwide Leader. Dan, you know a little something about ESPN. Is it much of a stretch for you to believe that they were just making up trade rumors out of thin air?
No, it's not a stretch at all. I mean, Alex was there 10 years ago. I don't know exactly who he's talking about, but the dude that's there now, Passan, Jeff Passan, there is no bigger douchebag in sports than Jeff Passan. It wouldn't surprise me if Passan does that on a daily basis. Nothing that happens at ESPN in that green room, which I sat in with Aaron Boone. I sat in with, named Kurt Rambis, all kind. It was really fun to hang in there while guys were getting ready to go on. But I could tell you right now that what Alex Cora said was 100% true. A guy would come in, a producer would come in, and they were going to do a segment on that. They were going to do a segment on trades. Now, I was never in there when somebody made something up. I was in there when they asked about trades, and I didn't even hardly pay attention. But the truth of the matter is, there's no doubt about it. A producer has a segment. You've got to answer, or you've got to have stuff to fill that segment. And whether it is something about a game or something about a league or something about trades, you got to have something. So what Cora said would not surprise me even in a little bit that is true. Oh, and it's probably worse now with that clown passing.
All right, I got to get more on your opinions on Jeff Passan next time you're on here, because I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, but we'll get more from you next time. Dan, pleasure as always. Thank you for the reflections. You do, in fact, bring the goods. You need to trademark that, Dan. Dan Dakich brings the goods. He'll bring them outdoors too, with not a stitch of fucking clothing on, as well.
Naked.
Have a good one, brother. Naked Dan Dakich. Outdoors, just enjoying the summer. If there's anything wrong with Dan Dakich running around town naked during the summertime, I don't want to hear that shit. That's part of what makes America great. And speaking of great Americans, let me welcome now to the program the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee, is, of course, Ryne T-shirts. And Ryne, look, if we can just make shit up, this show would become so much easier. What if I'm being told, Ron, I don't know if you're aware, Patrick Mahomes has been eaten by a bear, is what we are hearing right now. What are your thoughts as a nation mourns the tragic bear mauling of 3-time Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes?
It's sad, man. It's sad. I mean, I was looking forward to him this season, and man,
it'll be a great thumbnail. And Sophie Cunningham was there in a bra and panties as he was mauled, just randomly for no apparent reason. That's also part of the story. I'm sure our audience will learn to, enjoy hearing about that. Ronnie, I want to talk to you not about the WNBA. I'm going to let you off the hook here.
Oh,
I
come
want to
on.
talk to you about what I think is sort of still a little bit under the radar in terms of the magnitude of this story, and that is what is going on with the Cleveland Guardians and gambling. Luis Ortiz, Cleveland Guardians starting pitcher, pretty decent starting pitcher, not great, but, you know, a number 3, number 4 type starter. Maybe more number 4 type starter for my baseball nerds out there, but a decent pitcher. Put under paid leave by Major League Baseball due to a couple of pitches that had unusual gambling activity. And this is where you can bet on the first pitch of an inning being a ball or a strike, and there was an unusual amount of money coming in from multiple locations on a couple of specific pitches that he made. And he has been out now for, I think, a few weeks while this investigation is going on, still drawing a paycheck. Now, here's the next one for you, okay? Their closer now is also in hot water because he's also gone on leave, and I want you to look at this pitch here. We have a GIF of it. What is going on with the Cleveland Guardians? Take a look at this, Ryne. This is the first pitch of an inning, and it is another one of these I don't know how far that went. How far did he throw it? 40 feet? 45 feet? Hard to tell, but that's not a pitch that an elite major league closer makes very often. I understand. I threw out a first pitch at a White Sox game. It was terrible, and it was no worse than that. And that was the only pitch I've ever thrown from a major league pitcher's mound, and I was fucking nervous, and my central nervous system shorted out. I tried to aim it at the last minute, and I bounced it up there, and, you know, it wasn't like go viral bad, but it was not the pitch that I was hoping to make. This guy, however, is an elite pitcher. I had Lee Steinberg on the program not long ago, and he was talking about the dangers of gambling and what it could do. You're more of a gambler than I am. You're a better gambler than I am. You're certainly a more frequent
I don't know about
gambler
that.
than I am.
I don't know about that.
Well, you only send me the wins, okay? You look like you're a good gambler because I always get texted.
I'm like Ricky, I'm like the happy couple on Facebook. You know, all they ever do is post how happy they are, and then they get a divorce like 6 months later. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, we all know them. What went wrong? They seemed so happy. He seemed like he was a good gambler when he would send me those wins. What do you think about these micro bets? Because here's the thing, you know, we've talked about Pete Rose. The Pete Rose issue has been debated to death. It's only going to be debated more in the future now that he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. And we'll be talking about that. I think he comes up in 2027 for a vote to possibly be in the 2028 class. So we got a lot of Pete Rose discussion in front of us. And I think that some of it is going to be framed by this because we know how much money there is in gambling. And where there's money in a league where now Major League Baseball wears advertisements on their jerseys, wherever there is a way to extract a few more $1 million, these major sports leagues, not just Major League Baseball, are in on that. And so gambling, they're in on it. What do you think, however? Now we got 2 pitchers on the same pitching staff that are on leave, and I got to believe this is pretty serious at this point because this guy goes on paid leave as the investigation has already been going on for a while. So they found something concerning that pitch is probably part of the circumstantial evidence. I think there's a good chance that both of these guys are going to get banned for life. All right, we've talked about the Black Sox for years and years and years. We've talked about Pete Rose for years and years and years. Now we're talking about FanDuel, DraftKings, all of these types of places, and specifically micro bets. Is there any good, in your opinion, that comes from allowing people to bet on things that are superficially as insignificant as whether the first pitch of an inning is a ball or a strike?
So, I immediately thought of when you and I actually were talking about this on the phone yesterday is, you can bet on, or at least you used to be able to bet on the length of the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And I always thought to myself, well, why aren't the people involved with the national anthem? They do rehearsals. Why aren't they betting on it? And then was it last year or 2 years ago? Some guy bet on whether or not there'd be a streaker at the Super Bowl. I think it was in Vegas. And then he himself took his clothes off and ran on the field. And so now we have these little micro bets. There was the NBA player in, I believe, Toronto was betting on his over-under on shots taken or something like that, or minutes played that he could absolutely control. I just don't think we can have bets that can be controlled by an individual person. In the 1950 CCNY got in trouble for fixing basketball games.
Shaving.
Yeah, point shaving. And so you've got to have the right circumstances and just kind of a confluence of everything happening right to be able to kind of really affect that. But single individual things that happen in a sporting event, they're way too easy for one person to control.
Well,
and therefore you just can't
every over-under, every prop bet on a player can be controlled by the player.
Correct.
Right? Because all they got to do is sprain their ankle with 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter.
Right.
Or if they're a really good player, they could do it even a little bit later in the game than that. And, we just heard from the locker room. He's got it. He turned his ankle. He's not going to return.
Her wig fell off.
Who's
she
to fucking
can't come
say?
back in.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine if you had the over on Kahleah Copper for points scored and somebody yanks her wig off and she doesn't come back because she's in the locker room crying?
Well, but who yanked it was in on it with her, right? So that's, but that is the slippery slope though, Ricky. Like these micro bets, they can't do them.
Pandora's box has been opened, and we are just now starting to see some of the early returns of the problems with this. Because everybody wants to believe as they rake in tens and tens of millions of dollars, if not more than that, everybody just wants to pretend like, hey, this is no problem. We've got all of these, in Major League Baseball and these other leagues, they've got partners who their job is to review these things. And that's how this got flagged. In fairness to Major League Baseball, they did notice it and it's been flagged and they're investigating it. And, when you talk about being banned for life and whether or not that was fair for Pete Rose, if these guys are guilty, even if we're just talking about 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 pitches out of their entire careers, they got to be banned for life. Because everybody out there who's fucking thinking about this, everybody who even had the fleeting thought in the back of their mind, I wonder if I could make some money somehow. The message has to be sent now, because this is not an issue that's going to go away by any means. And these guys are the first dudes that are in hot water over this stuff, and they absolutely have to have the book thrown at them. And I still don't think that will be enough to prevent other people in the future from trying shady business, because there's too much money involved. And how in the world are these leagues going to police each and every instance of things that undermine the integrity of the game? I think it's a hell of a problem, Ron.
Well, the other thing you have to is there's the other side of this too, Ricky, which is what kind of degenerate gambler are you if you're actually betting on whether the first pitch of a game is a strike or a ball? I mean,
that's like betting on
a coin flip.
Like flipping a coin.
Yeah. It's
like betting on a fucking coin flip, basically.
Yeah.
I'm sure throwing a strike is slightly better odds than not throwing a strike. I would tell you that, because strikes are probably 60-65% or something in that range. But still, there's no skill really involved in wagering in that. So why does that bet exist?
Correct.
Why does that bet exist? I think any gambling there should be some measure, at least theoretically, of skill attached to the bet. I think Dak Prescott is going to throw for more than 268.5
where you have to do some sort of analysis.
yards. Right. But like, hey, the next pitch that this motherfucker throws,
right.
I think it's going to be a ball or a strike. That bet doesn't, if you need that much action in your life, start doing hard drugs or something, right? I mean, I don't know what kind of dopamine hit the person is looking for that's gambling on that kind of bet. But to me, those types of bets existing, if they're going to lead to things that it seems that we're seeing going on in Major League Baseball right now, I think the world can get along without some of these micro bets around. Look, I'm sure that there's some fucker out there who's, having his Totino's party pizza and, he's bet on Clayton Kershaw's first pitch of the third inning to be a ball, but he was getting along in life before he made those types of bets, and I got a feeling he'll be okay if they go away.
Said the guy who bets on Uzbekistani table tennis.
Well, I'm not betting on the results of the next serve. I'm betting on the results of the entire match between two men from a Eastern European country I can't pronounce playing a game that I barely understand. By God. That's how you're supposed to do your degenerate betting. Ron, we got some good news here. Some news that, the news isn't good, but the ultimate news is good. We finally found out why Deion Sanders has been out of commission for so long. He had bladder cancer. The good news is he is now cancer-free per the reports of Deion Sanders and his doctor. And let's go to the tape.
But please get yourself checked out, especially African-American men. We don't like going to the doctors. We don't like nothing to do with a doctor. You know that. So I'm not just talking to the brothers. I'm talking to my Caucasian brothers, my Hispanic brothers, my Asian brothers, my everybody, and my sisters. And that's all, y'all. Get checked out, because it could have been a whole nother gathering if I had. I'm thankful. It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds. I was like a Atlanta Falcon prime at one point.
Well, good news, man.
Yep.
He went on to talk about the difficulty of it. He said he depends now. And I don't know the realities of everything that goes with bladder cancer and surviving it, what he went through, but certainly good news to know that Prime is on the mend and hopefully will be with the Colorado Buffaloes this season.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I'm pretty harsh on Deion and some of the things that he says, but he just said something, and I'm going to take this opportunity right now. Ryne Sandberg passed away from prostate cancer. Deion had this. Guys, get checked. Like, Deion is so right. Like, I've been getting my prostate checked since I was 40 because my dad had prostate cancer. You're supposed to start when you're 50. You got to get your colonoscopies. I know it's like, it's you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. I know too many people that seemed really healthy that got colonoscopies and found out they had cancer. So no joking. We joke a lot and have a lot of fun on this show, but man, Deion is right. Get checked. Like, get checked now if you haven't.
Good advice, Ron. Rob Manfred got checked.
Yes,
by
he
Bryce
did.
Harper.
Yeah, he did.
Who reportedly, I guess Manfred goes and he meets with every team once a year. Goes into the clubhouse, talks to them about whatever the important issues are. They get to talk to him directly and engage with him, and he does that to maintain good relations with the players and whatever. Apparently, Bryce Harper felt that Manfred was talking about potentially implementing a salary cap. And Bryce Harper, it is reported, and I believe that this is accurate, said and reported by Jeff Passan, who I just learned Dan Dakich is not a Jeff Passan fan, and I want to know what Jeff Passan did. But get the fuck out of our clubhouse is what Bryce Harper politely told the commissioner. And the commissioner, according to Passon's sources, responded to Harper and said he wasn't going to get the fuck out of the clubhouse. So there you go. Just a little fun between the commissioner and one of baseball's biggest stars, who doesn't like the idea of a salary cap, apparently.
I was shocked
And why would
because
he?
I was shocked at this because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bryce Harper is Mormon. And that just didn't seem to kind of mesh with everything. Well, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I got friends that are Mormon and they do not swear. Like, that is like, they got the caffeine, the this and that. And like, I was blown away when I heard that it was Bryce Harper that did that. Well, he didn't want a salary cap.
Bryce Harper was Mormon, but I can tell you, the Bryce Harper that I've followed, I can believe it. That's a clown question, bro. Why don't you consider signing up for Ricky Cobb's Rewind? That's right. It's our bi-weekly newsletter. All you got to do is head over to outkick.com/newsletters. Enter the email address that you use for such things, and you'll be locked and loaded every Thursday straight to your inbox. I'm captioning user photos, Super 70 sports style. I'm answering your questions with my margarita mailbag. We've got a Give Me 5 in every edition of this newsletter, where we'll contemplate everything from our favorite video games to our favorite breakfast cereals to the greatest third baseman of all time and 100 other things. It's an opportunity for me to kind of give you guys a little bit of a backstage pass to things that go on this program, things that go on with Super 70s. It's a place where I like to hang out with my friends and tell some stories and have some fun. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, please head over to outkick.com/newsletters. Sign up. It's free. You can unsubscribe anytime you like, but only a goddamn fool would do that. Ryne Sandberg, my favorite second baseman of all time. I tweeted that Ernie Banks may be Mr. Cobb. Ryne Sandberg is the Mr. Cobb for Generation X. We lost him yesterday after a battle with cancer at the much too young age of 65 years old. And it's hitting a lot of us hard. There's no doubt about it. And July can fuck off, by the way. When you look at the folks that we've lost here, Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan, Malcolm Jamal Warner, all of these names that are synonymous for a lot of us with the era that we grew up in and our childhoods and adolescence. And to lose Ryne Sandberg, however, is the one that has hit me the hardest of the recent wave of 70s and 80s heroes, because I grew up on this man. I remember when we got cable television finally in Horse Cave, Kentucky back in 1982. As I recall, it was a complete game changer, because up until that time, I would get the national baseball broadcasts and I would get some Cincinnati Reds games, but not all of them. And oh my God, when I discovered WGN and I discovered Harry Carey and Steve Stone coming to you live from Wrigley Field 81 times a year, it was especially those home games. Back before the lights, when they were all day games, there was nothing better than coming in from school, picking up the Cubs in about the second inning, making myself a snack, and sitting down to watch Ryne Sandberg play the second base position better than I've ever seen anybody else play it. And June the 23rd, my friends, always should be circled on your calendar as Ryne Sandberg Day. If you're talking about the greatest regular season games of the 80s, I'll talk about one that happened on NBC on a Saturday afternoon. Some of you are going to remember this well. Ryne Sandberg hitting home runs off of Bruce Sutter in the 9th inning and again in the 10th inning. Back when Bruce Sutter was not an easy guy to get. He was maybe the best closer in baseball at that time, another future Hall of Famer. And Ryne Sandberg, my God, one memory among many watching the Cubs on Well, summers that felt like they would never end, honestly. When you're a kid, the older you get, the faster it seems like the calendar moves. I'm 53 years old. I blink, and it feels like the next birthday's coming up. And there's that 1983 Ryne Sandberg rookie card. Iconic. There were a lot of us that were hanging on to some of these because we thought that it was going to be a part of our retirement portfolio. And that card is still one of the most desired cards of the 1980s. Some of you will recall, no doubt, that was also the rookie card, 1983, for Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs. So a trio of legends there among those. And the Sandberg card was the one that I wanted the most. I tweeted out a Super Sky Point to Ryne Sandberg last night. It was a hard one to write. I churned it out in a couple of minutes. And, I felt the responsibility with this one to try to say what I was feeling well and not just throw it together. I'll read it for you guys. Based on the reaction that it's received so far, seems like many of you know what I'm talking about. Super Sky Point to Ryne Sandberg, my favorite second baseman of all time. I'll never forget the countless hours tuned into WGN with Harry Carey and Steve Stone during those beautiful childhood summers that lasted forever. Before we knew how fast time actually flies and that our heroes don't live forever. He could hit, he could field, he did it all with class. Ernie Banks may be Mr. Cobb, but Rhino capably took that mantle for my generation. Somewhere in my heart, it'll always be 1984. Harry will always be 3 sheets to the wind while looking for blondes in the bleachers between pitches. And Ryne Sandberg will always get the clutch hit or make the great defensive play to save the day. That's how I remember it, because that's how it was. Nobody ever wore Cubby Blue better. St. Peter, don't throw this man fastballs, but I would imagine Bruce Sutter already told you that. Rest in peace, Rhino. And with that, I will welcome to the program the pride of the Hoosier State of Indiana, the host of Don't At Me here on the OutKick platform, and a Ryne Sandberg fan himself, Dan Dakich, joins the program. Dan, this is a tough one, man. They hit hard when folks pass away that meant something to you, but for me, and I would imagine for you as well, Ryne Sandberg cuts a little deeper.
Well, I was a Cub fan first game 1969. I grew up just outside Chicago in Gary, Indiana, and every day I ran home, hoping that the Cubs were in the 5th inning, watching Jack Brickhouse and the good kid, Lou Boudreau, Vince Lloyd, and then it became Harry. And 1984 was special. We beat Michael Jordan in the NCAA tournament. It was the first time in my lifetime that the Cubs were going to go to the playoffs. Remember, back then it was East-West. That was it. And we would go all the time. In fact, Ricky, it wasn't the Ryne Sandberg game. It was either the day before or the day after. I can't remember. It was that weekend series. Me and my brother, my buds, we all went drinking beers and got standing room only tickets against the chain link fence in right field. We ran out of beer money. And there was a bunch of IU fans sitting as we walked in. They wanted autographs and stuff. And so my brother, who is a lawyer, said, "Hey, Dan, why don't you go down there and sell your shoes to those guys? We get some money." So I'm all right. So I went down in Wrigley Field during the game into the box seats. Said, "Fellas, I got these. I wore them to beat Michael Jordan's ass back in March. I'll sell them to you for $35. They bought them for $35. We had beer money, and I walked around Wrigley Field. It was either the day before, I can't remember. There was Sandberg weekend. I remember when Sandberg got drafted. They put him in, or not, got traded for. It was Larry Bowe. He was a throw-in. Ivan De Jesus. They put him at third, and he went about 0 for 25. But that was a great summer. You mentioned, the summer would last forever. We got earlier that summer in April. We came to Wrigley. We got up for a weekend. All my buddies were in town, and we went to Wrigley. We were going to sit in the bleachers, and we had parkas on. It was cold, or jackets on, and we snuck beers in. My buddy KC, Kevin Custer, got caught. And we're like, we're going to get kicked out because one goes, we all go. Well, Ricky, they gave us a claim check for the beers, and after the game, we had 1 million beers in the bleachers, went to get the claim check, and they gave them back to us, and I bitched. I said, "What, it's not cold? You didn't put it in the fridge? What are you doing?" And then we would always go to the Ultimate Sports Bar after and shoot free throws. My brother was Bobby Dernier, the leadoff man. Kevin Custer was Sandberg, and I was the Sarge. We would shoot free throws against, all the smartasses in Lincoln Park, and we never lost, ever, one time. And I was always the cleanup man. I was the Bruce Sutter. I was the the Lee Smith. Ricky, I sat naked in 1984 in the fall in my apartment at Indiana University with my buddy Uwe Blopp, Roger Wallace, Big Balls Billy, the catcher on the baseball team, and had a big kind of it wasn't a cooler, but it was filled with 6 old styles and on ice. And we watched that awful, it was either Game 5 or Game 7, whatever clinched. I think it was Game 7, when the ball went right through the wickets of Leon Durham and next time popped over the head of Ryan Sandberg, because I was going to run around the neighborhood or run around our apartment complex naked. I said it before the season, if and when the Cubs get to the World Series. So I ended up sitting there drinking a 6-pack of beer, hungover for the workout the next day at Indiana. It wasn't great, but 1984, that group, that team, I can go right through it. Bobby, nothing runs like Dernier, leading off. Second was Ryan Sandberg. Third was the Sarge, Gary Matthews. Fourth was the Bull, Leon Durham. Fifth was the Penguin, Ron Say. Sixth was Zonk, Keith Moreland. Seventh was Sean Dunston or Larry Boa, depending on who was playing short, mostly Boa. Eighth was Jody Davis. And Rick Sutcliffe came over for George Frazier. Rick Sutcliffe came over with George Frazier for Mel Hall and the great Joe Carter, and the Cubs were off and running. Best summer of my life, brother, was dating a hot girl. I think I ended up dumping her, and she wrote me a 6-page letter, and I didn't care. I threw it in the garbage. There you go, Ricky. There you go, the summer '84, baby.
Bro, you took me back. I was a little younger, so that was the summer I turned 13, so I was doing innocent, childlike things in rural Kentucky. But the moral of the story, Dan, is any excuse to get outdoors naked for you. That's the bottom line. I'm sure you made another wager.
There are a lot of
the
pictures.
Next day.
There are a lot of pictures that my buddy Worm kept over the years that are very. He also has one, as he was roommates with Brian Kelly. He has Brian Kelly in a pig outfit at a Halloween contest, drunk, but that's a different story. My boy Worm keeps all the pictures.